you done now?
No.
Somebody will give him a lift, huh?
Oh, we'll get him a car.
A long black car.
A limousine. Oh.
Officer.
You're too late. I've seen it all.
You have? I can explain everything.
You don't have to.
I don't?
Don't worry. There's nothing illegal about any of this.
Are you sure?
Of course, this is America.
I see.
It's a free country. Don't you know that?
I didn't know it was that free.
May I use your phone now?
Certainly.
Why did you lock him in again?
We haven't finished searching the house yet.
But we're running out of time. Only 15 minutes before the police come.
The police already came.
Let's get on with it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Clue the Movie Podcast, where we break down the 1985 Clue movie clip 1 minute at a time. My name is Brad Gilmore, joined by the Macho Man, Jeff Smith. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, wrestling reference number 1. Cream of the crop.
The cream of the crop. Step into a Slim Jim.
Oh, my. That's pretty good.
Thank you. The Macho Man is
now some Christopher Lloyd.
Great.
Now Christopher Lloyd as a pro wrestler.
Tonight, Macho Man, I'm going to send you back to the past. Well, yo, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, Doc. Yo, when the Macho Man, when he walks up into the ring, and he sees you standing there, you're gonna think that lightning just struck you again. When I hit you with that elbow drop off the top rope, I'll see you at WrestleMania. Oh, yeah, dig it.
All right, lightning's gonna strike twice tonight at Hill Valley.
Can I get a great Scott?
Okay, that was called Wrestling Improv, ladies and gentlemen, right off the bat. Look at that, Brad Gilmore. Great Scott.
Great
Scott.
Coming in
with impressions.
Yes, man. So we're welcome back. Episode 2 of 2024. This is me and Jeff. We hope you enjoyed our edition last week. I think people seem to. People seem to like our lengthy discussion.
Well, the vocal ones did. The people that hated it probably are just gone, but that's okay. I've been chatting with listener Lee on Instagram, which you all can too, on the Clue documentary Instagram. And she's actually the one, I sent this to you a couple weeks back, Brad, that appreciated your reference to Mike Jones.
Oh, yes.
Rapper of Houston.
281-330-8004.
There you go. She got it. I didn't know what you're talking about, but she appreciated it. And then she just got John Hatch's book, by the way, as well. So kudos to John Hatch and What Do You Mean Murder? And she just finally all got caught up with the podcast. She's been like binging our voices for the last couple of weeks. And she said, I know, even my loved ones don't like that. But she has a theory on the motorist in this very scene saying, what if the motorist is not dead? What if the motorist isn't dead? And he called the police. And is he clearly dead or just knocked the hell out and then also drunk? Is he playing dead? These are Lee's questions. Which I responded with, I like the idea. And what if the motorist is Mr. Body?
Whoa. Okay. Now we're really
to take it like really crazy. But that's me just going way too far. But Lee likes the thought that maybe the motorist is not dead.
Is it possible? Yes. Now, here's my question, and this is about to be a Google that I'm going to throw up here, is how long can you be knocked out for? Like, what's the longest you can be knocked out for?
It hasn't been that long in the context of the movie. I know it seems like it for us because we watch it 1 minute at a time, but he really has only been chilling for like 10 minutes, maybe 15.
What's the longest time?
Have you ever been knocked out, Brad?
Not that I can remember.
Yeah, me neither.
Let's see. Depends on the severity of the injury. If you lose consciousness briefly or suffer concussion, 75 to 90% of the people will fully recover in a few months. Well, that's recovery.
Yeah. But what? Okay, how long
so
before
a
you
person.
wake up
Here we go.
What happened?
there's no definite time here, but a person can be knocked out for times commonly ranging from a fraction of a second to several minutes.
That's it. Okay. Well then, sorry, Lee.
Now, when I was a kid, I thought
Unless he woke up and then he's like, oh, what's happening? And I'll just
play
dead like Mr. Body did earlier.
Well, you know what? That is true. We did see somebody play dead earlier.
It's true. When you were a kid.
So I thought several meant 7 minutes. Like if someone said, "Oh, several," because it looks like 7. I guess so. You know, several 7. I'm not sure. I like where Lee's thinking though. I like that there's still some mystery here, and I have a lot of questions actually about this minute for you, in particular, given your background in movie making and screenwriting. Now,
alrighty.
My first thing though that I feel like we should address before we dive into my questions for this minute are: did you come up with any 80s rock star alternatives?
Absolutely. Yes, I did.
Okay.
I still think David Lee Roth is a very, very solid choice.
And we're talking about for Mr. Body, a better
for Mr. Body,
better than Leaving, or equivalent to Leaving.
But you know who I came up with that I thought actually, all joking aside, because of course I thought like Ozzy Osbourne would be very funny because he'd come in there and go, hey, we have got weapons, and nobody would have a clue. No one would have an idea of what he was saying. So Ozzy is up there, and I also like Dee Snider from Twisted Sister because he could be like pretty super intimidating, and if he had the hair, like all his long blonde hair pulled back in the ponytail and a black suit, I'd listen to Dee Snider. Because he's not going to take it.
Anymore.
He ain't going to take it.
He took it for a
anymore.
point. For a point, he took it.
For a little bit, but then he wants to rock.
Yeah.
Rock.
Yeah. And he's not going to do it anymore.
And he was great in another 1985 movie, Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh, right.
You're going to burn in hell.
Well, when I thought about it, and I know that we classified them as a 70s rock band, but I still really like the idea of Gene Simmons.
Yeah. I think no, I don't even think. He was on the list.
He was on the list.
He really was on the list. Yeah, so that was considered. And during that time, Gene Simmons was doing some movies.
He was trying to break into movies. Now, I think Kiss versus the Phantom of the... What was it? Kiss versus the Phantom? Was that the name of the movie?
At Six Flags Magic Mountain.
Yes. Yeah. I mean...
Right here in Valencia, California.
How that didn't win more awards, I'm not sure. Especially Razzies. But I like Gene Simmons because I feel like... Because Gene Simmons is a tall cat, dark hair, tan skin.
Yes.
Looks menacing. I think, though, he would probably have some sort of shades on. And I feel like the shades might kill it.
He would also be believable when he's harassing Yvette at the beginning.
Yeah.
We know each other, don't we, dear? Like, I wouldn't expect Ozzy to do that. Or Dee Snider for that matter, and I mean that as a compliment. But the other rock star I would like to see, he's way more 70s, and that I thought about was Ted Nugent, but only because I'd actually like to see him dead. That part would be fun.
You're not a fan of Cat Scratch Fever?
For him, no, I love the song. But it would be ironic that Mr. Guns, 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 was shot in the movie.
Is he a Texan? Does he live here?
I don't want to do Texan stereotypes, but it would check.
I feel like he lives here. Ted Nugent.
You might run into Ted Nugent. So I take it back.
Where does Ted Nugent live, maybe? Where does Ted Nugent live?
What's his address?
Okay, he lives in, it comes up a whole bunch of places. Well, he has 300 acres of property in western Jackson County, which is, I believe, close to Waco. Waco, Texas, I believe, or it's in the similar area. It says he also has a house in Michigan.
Oh.
So there you go.
All right. Ted Nugent. Well,
there you go.
Basketball fans.
More Ted Nugent than I thought.
Way more. Than I thought. Never before or probably since.
Ted's an interesting one. But I got Gene.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a really
Yeah.
good one. You know, like again from a menacing look. I believe his name is Rob Halford from Judas Priest.
Judas Priest, yeah, with the bald head.
Yeah, Menace.
Yeah, he'd be good.
Menacing look.
Menace is good.
I'm trying to think of a nice like heavy metal person from like the 80s.
Right. It couldn't be anybody like Bret Michaels because they'd come in
pretty
boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now Tommy Lee. No, not Tommy Lee either.
No, he travels with his own weapon. Oh, you know who I was thinking of though, as far as 80s musicians that would be good, not necessarily a rock star, but you're a Pamela Anderson fan, so I know.
Who's not?
Prince, because then the black presence with the purple ribbon would really make sense.
I like it.
I believe that Prince could have been a good gift wrapper.
What do you think about Michael?
So all that would.
What about Michael?
Michael Jackson, yeah, he'd be fun because I like it when he tries to play tough like he did in Captain EO, where the first line of him in Captain EO, where he goes, "We're going in," and you think, yeah, he's the captain.
Yeah.
I'm the captain now.
I didn't know until this week, and this is like 80s, 90s Spielbergian trivia stuff, and then I want to ask you questions about the movie, I promise. But that Michael Jackson was originally going to be Peter Pan and Hook.
Peter Pan. Yeah, I heard. I don't know how much of that's true, but I think he wanted to be Peter Pan. He lived in Neverland.
Right.
But can you imagine him in Hook doing like the father part at the beginning?
No.
I'm not a huge fan of the movie Hook anyway, but Robin Williams is definitely the best part.
That is a crazy statement you just made.
Yeah.
You don't like Hook?
Oh my. No.
Why not?
Steven Spielberg doesn't like Hook.
I don't care what he likes. The movies aren't for him. They're for the audiences.
Yeah, but if he can't stand behind it. No, it didn't do it for me. I like all the actors in it. I think all the actors are great. I
Dustin
love
Hoffman.
I love Bob Hoskins.
Hoffman kind of stole it. I think he kind of stole it.
Sure. Well,
I hate Peter Pan.
Yeah. I don't know.
Really?
Hook.
That's like a go-to for me when I was a kid. Hook was like a put this in.
Well, you're of proper age. I was already cynical at that time, so like when you're alone, whatever.
I don't like the song part. I agree with that.
Yeah, like be a musical or don't.
Yeah, don't have a.
I always say.
Oh, that's words to live by. I would love to see a Clue musical.
A Cluesicle?
A Cluesicle. Come on, man. A Cluesicle would be phenomenal.
What would be the opening song?
They would be about all them getting an invitation.
Yeah.
Got an invite to the party. Going to the hill. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da, looking for a thrill. Da-da-da-da-da, and someone might get killed. The Cluesicle.
Don't have a clue. Yeah.
Don't have a clue. What it's about.
Where are we going? I don't have a clue.
What this party is about.
Gosh, it's frightened, aren't you?
Ooh, look at that.
This is cooking.
It writes itself.
Cooking.
It writes itself.
That's kind of. Yeah.
So in this minute,
Shaboom.
This is what I wanted to ask. Okay, so we're picking up from where the cop's inspecting things, and he sees Miss Scarlet and Professor Plum making out, and then the dead drunk comment, and we're gonna give him a long black car, a limousine. Okay,
limousine.
Love the dialogue, unnecessary dialogue, but I love the lines anyway. Completely unnecessary.
Yeah, why is Professor Plum so silly in this scene?
Mm-hmm.
Like he even looks at her like, "Oh, did I say that?" Like, is he showing off? Is he trying to show like he's still working on Miss Scarlet even now?
Yeah,
I guess
you're already making out
determined.
With him. What are you gonna do? What are you doing?
Yeah. And whose idea do you think that was? Hey, let's fool the cop. I have an idea.
We'll make out together.
Yeah.
Great Scott.
No time to argue.
And so, okay, there's that part. But this is what I wanted to ask you specifically, and then we'll go back to something the cop said. But after the cop inspects, has the conversation with Wadsworth, goes back into the room to make the phone call. Christopher Lloyd, Professor Plum says the cops are going to be here in 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, he's really keeping track.
And Mr. Green's is it Mr. Green who said they're already here? Who said they're already here?
Yes, the cops already came.
Let me ask you, does the ticking clock aspect of the story work for you? That the cops are going to be here any minute?
I don't know. Do you really feel the threat of them getting caught by the cops? I don't think so. I think I get why it's there, but I kind of forget that the cops are coming. It's more just, I don't know. It's a good point. Yeah.
And I'm not trying to criticize the movie because I love the movie the way that it is, but when you're looking at it.
Of course.
When you're looking at it, you're like, okay, you introduce the cops are coming to set this ticking clock narrative. But I feel like the references to the clock itself and the timing itself is like a little too it's too lackluster. There's not enough there. I think if you had shots of the clock, maybe, we know they're coming at 8 and then you see it's 7:45 on the thing. It's like, and then Christopher, look, the cops are going to be in 15 minutes, or whatever, right? Like stuff like that, maybe it would work.
Yeah, or what's going to happen when the cops get there? What's the, is J. Edgar Hoover like really on this case? Or they don't really talk about worrying about the police. The threat is each other, and it seems like the countdown is more just kind of letting the audience know this will all be over in 15 minutes. So just hang in there. We're going to watch it do silly stuff, and then get ready for your 3 endings. They're coming in 15 minutes.
Now I know
but it's kind of like you're just sitting and waiting for the end at this point, but not like out of boredom. It's just that eventually it's going to be revealed and funny things happen along the way, and then who else is going to come to the door before it? Yeah, I don't think I've ever thought like, oh no, the cops.
I felt like
even when they get there, they just kind of run in and go, big deal.
Yeah, they already know something's happened. They don't need to investigate or anything.
Yeah. It's more like when it's the Wadsworth is the threat. Wadsworth figuring it out.
Yeah, that's the threat, right?
Countdown should be in 15 minutes. Wadsworth is going to reveal who did it. Yes. And at this point, I bet he already knows.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about it a bunch. How like the movie itself doesn't really lend itself to having, a plot to where you could really figure out who the murderer is from the clues that you see, right? Because there's 3 endings. Right. So you don't really know. There's small things like someone's not here in this scene, someone's not here in that scene. But it's still like not a clear, like there's some movies that I watch, right? Or shows that I watch where I'll do like probably the most annoying thing in the world and just turn to my wife and go, oh, it's such and such and such and such, such and such is about to happen right now. Watch.
Called it.
Called it. Like there's certain things you can figure out and put together in your head. Like even if you, take a movie, I don't know why this came to my mind, like The Sixth Sense. Like if you're watching it with your mind on, you could probably figure out he's dead. Spoiler alert, like the whole time, right? You could probably figure that out.
Yeah. Why is nobody talking to him?
Right. You could probably figure it out. But as far as, this movie, if you're watching with your brain on, it's probably not as an enjoyable experience. It's more so you need to watch it for the comedy and for the, the buffoonery than the murder mystery.
Is just propelling the plot. Yeah. I get it. It'd be like if you watched The Sixth Sense, and The Sixth Sense had 3 endings, and one of them is Bruce Willis is not dead. Then everything that you saw of her, now you just think his wife is mean.
Yes.
But I did see, I forget the comedian. The comedian did a routine on Sixth Sense, how everybody was shocked at the end because it was way more believable that Bruce Willis's wife was so angry at him that she never spoke to him. Like he went to a restaurant on their anniversary and she just gave him the silent treatment the entire time, said passively happy anniversary under her breath, paid the check and left. That we all went, yeah, that checks out. Not the part where he might be dead. And because why wouldn't she talk to him? No, we believe that his wife is being super passive. But that if there were 2 endings of The Sixth Sense or 3 endings of The Sixth Sense, that would be one of them. And you go, okay, well then why is Bruce Willis always wearing the same clothes through the entire movie, if not dead?
Right. So when you watch it with your mind,
open that basement door.
So but again, I don't know if the, and again, I don't want to sound overly critical of the movie, but I don't know if the ticking clock really was as necessary as, by the end of the night, X and X is gonna happen. I don't know. But I just thought it was. I just didn't feel it. I didn't feel the sense of doom.
It's a trope, I guess. He's doing John Glenn is kind of doing greatest hits of these kind of movies, and that's certainly something that the threat of the police. But again, I think Wadsworth is more the threat, because if you look at the movies like the Murder on the Orient Express, or the movies, they became movies, Murder on the Orient Express, or even Knives Out and all that. The threat is the detective that's in the place with them. You're not worried about, when you watch Knives Out, you're not worried about once Daniel Craig figures everything out that cops are going to suddenly run in and grab the bad guy. You're like, oh, what? The police are coming. No, the genius is already there. He's in the room and he's going to figure it out.
So,
but good on Professor Plum for having a watch, I guess.
Very, very well. He's a therapist, and they're really by the hour. They got to keep track of the minutes in their head.
That's true. They do keep. That's right. He can't help it. He charges by the hour. Good point.
Yeah, there you go. Look at that. Brain on today.
That's a character. That's a character trait right there. That the therapist would be the one keeping track of time.
Yeah. Ooh, man, we're just cooking with gas.
That.
Okay.
Wow.
I feel one of the best line deliveries in all of Tim Curryism was in this scene. Because he has
Are you sure?
This great delivery of all his dialogue. I mean, because his accent, his English accent, I don't know from what region he comes from, but it's a very particular English accent. It's not your proper.
And even a master impressionist, as you, Brad Gilmore, would have trouble doing a Tim Curry. I've tried. I can't do it.
Certainly.
Because at the end of the at the end of the Clue documentary, I have an animated version of the Lost Fourth ending, and I tried for a second, because Wadsworth has a lot of dialogue. I did attempt a Tim Curry impression, and no. It's very difficult, very uniquely Tim Curry.
But when he says,
"But what was the line that you liked?"
Certainly. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. The way he says it.
Everybody should say that. Everybody, because it's restrained relief.
Yes.
Because now that he realizes everything's fine. Certainly. See, it's terrible. But yeah, I like it.
It reminds me
doing that. But I also like the are you sure? I didn't know it was that free.
Sure. I didn't know.
Like there's that whole delivery is great. And also kudos to Michael McKean in the background, trying to signal him like, shut up, we're good. He's like grinning ear to ear. And then when the terrible cop Bill Henderson turns around and looks at him, and he just this giant, there's a meme of that, or a gif of that, of Mr. Green with this big plastered smile on his face, like everything's fine. Again, terrible cop that he's not picking up these very obvious red flags.
So here's my my thing with Tim Curry too is he's got and these are God-given abilities. I really truly believe that. Some people just have that ability to manipulate words to where even if they're not saying anything that's funny, they make it funny, right? Certain people have that voice too. I think of a comedian that's very internet popular right now, Cat Williams, for this viral interview he did. But Cat Williams has this certain thing, like in the interview he did with Shannon Sharp. I don't know if you've heard about this at all, but it's got like 50 million views on YouTube.
Yeah. But go ahead and explain. Yeah, he's going off on a lot of people.
He's going off on Kevin Hart and Steve Harvey and Cedric the Entertainer and a bunch of people, right? But he's talking about Steve Harvey, and he said that they did like some kind of comedy battle in Detroit. And then, and just the way he says this in his voice was funny, because it's not funny because he said, we were doing it in front of 10,000 people. Not funny, right? That's not a funny thing. But he goes, and we were doing it in front of 10,000 people, and it just the way he did the delivery made it funny. And it reminds me of Tim Curry in this scene in particular. And then when I think of Tim Curry in another classic that he's in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, there is the scene where he's talking to Kevin McAllister and trying to explain why he was in his room the night before, right? And he was like, I was just making, I can't do it, but I was just making sure the room was tidy, and here's your cheese pizza, and it's like, how do you think to deliver the line that way? It's just so great.
I love you.
I love you. Stolen credit card. It's just, God, it's so
no one
good.
else could do it. And if you think about some of the other names that were talked about for Wadsworth, Rowan Atkinson, or, I mean, it's debatable if John Cleese was ever really considered. These are very funny comedians, and they would have done their version of Wadsworth, but I don't know. I can't imagine, especially at the end, or in the scene as well, of it being like, I could picture John Cleese doing this scene, and it would be very funny. But there's something, John Cleese kind of projects more confidence. And I think with Tim Curry as Wadsworth here, he's like, you could see he's panicked. He's lost control very early on in the movie, and he is just hanging on by a thread. So even just a little victory as the cop thinking everything's fine gets the
certainly. And
yes,
you are right. I mean,
sorry, I was gonna say he also has my favorite facial expression, and he's huge with all the physical comedy in this movie, but when he is leading the cop back to go to the phone and he just turns and gives this look to Mr. Green. There's no way to even describe it on an audio podcast, so everybody go watch Clue again, because you want to anyway. He gives this like wide-eyed, like holy crap kind of fake smile, frozen face, and it's my favorite thing. And in the documentary, I use that as an example when Leslie Ann Warren talks about Tim Curry's physical comedy, how great it is. That's the clip I use, because it's not him falling down or hitting the door or anything that he does. It's this just facial expression that's kind of subtle, but it's my favorite. It's so good.
Let me ask you this, because you said John Cleese was considered. I could see Cleese pulling it off, not as well as Tim Curry, just because we know this performance already.
Sure, it's tough.
But I know you've recently started watching Psych, right?
Yes.
Have you gotten to the Tim Curry episode?
Yes, where he's Simon Cowell, basically.
Cowell, basically. Even still, his line deliveries were killer in that show. So good.
Oh, everything. So,
shout out to Tim Curry, one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Tim Curry, and you know why.
You know why. We all know why. We should try again.
We
should try again.
I would love to.
Do you have a contact on him?
At least, yeah, sure. I'll give it to you. You might have better luck.
I have an idea. Give it to me. I have an idea. Okay, I'm not making any promises.
I'll give it to you.
All
right.
So I don't know. Was there anything else from this? Oh, okay. Last question I had on this minute. Wadsworth leaves talking to J. Edgar Hoover in this minute.
J. Edgar, yeah.
With the broom in his hand. And he has a weird reaction. What do you think was said on that phone call?
Oh, yeah. When he comes back, he has like a sigh. Like, ooh, that was rough. Well, again, 3 endings. So either he was talking to J. Edgar Hoover because he works for the FBI in the Peacock ending, and in the Everybody Did It ending, the call was supposed to be for Mr. Green. So in that's the one that's more confusing. What did he and J. Edgar Hoover talk about all that time?
It's a long time.
When he wasn't the one that was supposed to get the call.
Right. It's a long time.
Talk about, well, maybe Tim Curry, he's got his role as in a Rocky Horror Picture Show, Sweet Transvestite. That would be a conversation he could have with J. Edgar Hoover, talk about what they like to wear.
Some similarities there.
So maybe that's it. And then maybe he sighed at the end because he's like, wow, this guy's really into it.
Again,
even for Frankenfurter, it was like a bit much.
If anybody doesn't know the history of J. Edgar Hoover, go back and look him up again.
We discuss it at great lengths in the past.
We did discuss it, and again, you could watch the movie J. Edgar, where he was
that's true.
Well-known can we say well-known cross-dresser? I guess so, like a historical cross-dresser, right? Historically,
I think that's what, if you think about him.
That's what most people go to.
Most people go to it like this, top 3 bits of trivia.
Yeah, bits of trivia about like at one time, a man who was probably more powerful than the president in a lot of ways, especially domestically.
Yeah, that part would be number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First director of the FBI, and then I think his first big case was the Lindbergh baby kidnapping.
Sure. Okay. So maybe not top 3, but
I mean, no, it's up there.
I don't know.
It's up there.
One of the things I think of first.
I think it's top 3. I think it's top 3 for sure.
Yeah.
Top 3. Anyway, I mean, that's all I kind of have on this minute. I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to address.
No, it's a fun one. It definitely gives. I think I said this last week, but I think it's Christopher Lloyd's best scene because he gets to be funny, and for the most of the movie, he's kind of playing it straight.
Yeah,
and that's weird for Christopher Lloyd, but there you go.
There you have it. Well, another minute.
And he's a fine professional wrestler too. Going up against the Macho Man.
Really
New Year's Eve at Long Beach Arena. Check it out.
I'm gonna see you. There's no DeLorean time machine. Yeah, they can save you now. There's no escape from the steel cage, Bonesaw is ready.
Oh, now we're going to Spider-Man. Would have knocked you off that toilet like you fell when you were trying to hang your clock.
Oh, you want to know what I got in these arms, Doc? I got plutonium, yeah.
So anyway, well, this has been minute 63 of Clue the Movie podcast. Absolutely. Randy Savage impressions aside, we appreciate you joining us. ClueDoc.com, theboatbradgilmore.com, and we will see you next week. Clue the Movie podcast.